This episode of the Buffalonian Podcast is brought to you by the Castworks Podcast Network, a podcast network built with and for entrepreneurs. We cover many genres, including sports, business, mental health, marketing, and entertainment. We feature the podcast shows such as Sports Bring People Together, Limitless, Saviors of the Metaverse, and The Athletic Mindset. Learn more at castsource.com/podcast. And without further ado, let's get into the Buffalonian Podcast. The Buffalo Bills play a home game for the first time in nearly a month. We'll go through some X factors, keys to success, and more, and look at our picks from last week and pick some more games from this week. All of this and more on the Buffalonian Podcast, betting on the Bills. All right, let's go. We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast, betting on the Bills. I'm Joe Callie, and I am joined by Dom Loss on this fine Thursday evening. Almost said Friday, just hoping for it to be the end of the week. But we have a
Friday. I mean, we usually do these on Wednesday, so I
do them on Wednesday.
I thought you were about to say Wednesday.
No, I don't know what's going on there. A little bit of a messed up thought process coming in. But looking to correct here. The Bills play the Jets this Sunday. And like I said, the first home game in nearly a month, they're 9.5-point favorites. What are you feeling going into this one, Dom?
I'm feeling like a nice, clean, cold dish of revenge is about to happen.
Oh, yeah. I think it's Sauce Gardner is not going to be the sauce served. It'll definitely be revenge, and it's best served cold in Buffalo in the month of December. So I'm very much looking forward to this game and just seeing how the Bills perform, especially, fixing some mistakes we saw in the last game against the Jets. I mean, they're 9.5-point favorites, even losing to them earlier in the season. So I think that tells you what Vegas is thinking. They're kind of on the same mindset we are. They think the Bills are going to come back. I don't know how you couldn't. They're pretty much, still they're number one in the AFC. I mean, it's kind of tough to deny that. But looking at this, what went wrong last game, and what would we need to do differently in this game? What do you think?
Well, I think first thing at first is, they had a couple bad turnovers. Josh, 2 poor ends, especially on the first drive, was really a momentum killer.
Yeah.
And the Bills on both sides of the ball got dominated on the line of scrimmage, which allowed, constant pressure on Josh. Zach Wilson was able, now obviously it's Mike White, but Zach Wilson was able to stay clean in the pocket. And the Jets were able to run the ball very effectively on the Bills. So, you saw with that last drive of the game to kick that field goal. They were able to march down from their 5-yard line all the way to the Bills' 4 and basically all run plays. So I think that was a big thing. And then also I would say not being able to take away the number one target for the Jets and Garrett Wilson. I think he had 100 yards, 8 catches on 9 targets. So he was super efficient as well. So I think that's the big takeaway from last game is that the Jets aren't going to give you anything. They're a physical team, and the Bills have to be better at matching that and be better at taking away some of their strengths, which is Garrett Wilson in the passing game.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know Diggs can outdo Sauce Gardner. We saw that in the last game. It wasn't like that was a crazy matchup or anything. We knew that's how that was going to go. But you're absolutely right. Garrett Wilson ran circles around our defense, and I think honestly, now with Poyer 100% back, was he back for that game? Was he playing?
No, Poyer, Milano, no Trey White. Good only played a half. Barely a half too. I don't think he even finished. I think he might have played a quarter or so.
Yeah. No, that right there makes a huge difference. Your secondaries, it's immaculate now compared to what it was before. I mean, that's how I would put it. You have your all-star safety, Jordan Poyer, still missing Micah Hyde. That's always going to be a void to fill, but at least you have Poyer back there now. And now you got Trey White back out on the field playing well. He played well last game. And Milano and Tremaine are out there. I think it's going to be a different story. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think it's big to have your defense back out there. Obviously, not losing Vaughn from the last game is big, but able to get Groot back to hopefully playing the full game. will help minimize that effect. Also, with the way the young edges, along with Epinesa and Boogie Basham have been playing, Shaq
Right.
Lawson's really surging at the right moment, and then the interior of the defensive line is playing very solid.
Hmm.
So that's very important. Obviously, we'll see who's the number 2 quarterback this week. It kind of just roulette behind,
Yeah.
It's interesting. It was always Trey White, and then you always knew the number 2 corner was going to be Levi Wallace for all those years, and now it's kind of just
It's toss
game
up,
by
coin
game,
flip.
week by week, matchup by matchup kind of thing. Coin flip, I like that one. So,
Hmm.
I think that's a big thing to look at. I mean, it's nice to replace. I mean, I don't think a bigger change has happened since replacing Jaquan Johnson, who can't take a good angle on a ball, with Jordan Poyer. I think that's like the biggest upgrade from the last time these
Right.
two teams played each other. I think it's going to be interesting to see if Milano plays. Obviously, looking at the injury report, back-to-back, did not practices with a
DNP.
knee.
You got the words right. Okay.
DNP. I had the first syllable, the first letter of each word right, but not the last one. But no, it'd be interesting to monitor that. I think that would be a pretty significant loss
Hmm.
if he does not play, just because him and Tremaine are so good individually, but they're like, it's like synergy, man. It's 1 + 1 = 3. Like, having those two guys on the field at the same time, it just adds another level to each of their games. So it'd be interesting. You would probably assume AJ Klein would get the start without Milano, and then Jordan Phillips having a little bit of a shoulder issue. I think he like popped it when he tried to make that diving attempt on Mac Jones late in the game, and he hasn't practiced the first 2 days of this week. So I assume he wouldn't go either, but you still have Daquan Jones, Timsel Alvarez playing at a high level. So I think they'd be okay there.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. And we found out yesterday too that Von Miller is out for the rest of the season. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's kind of a punch in the gut. I mean, we picked him up, we signed him to go that extra mile to win the Super Bowl, to, be that cherry on top of an already dominant defense. And I mean, he said it himself today. I think he's not going to, just because he's not on the field. This is a rough quote. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said, just because he's not on the field doesn't mean he's not gonna be there for the team. Roughly. I mean, there is I just saw it. I lost it. I'm gonna be honest with you, but which is true. I think his leadership means more than we think, like, without him on the field. But I mean, look at the way Epinesa has developed as an edge rusher since Von Miller's been on the team. Like that, Greg Russo, like, that's major, absolutely major. Like, you don't get that without being. It's like Josh on the offense. You know what I mean? Like that leadership. Like, even when he was injured, we kept him out there, quote unquote. He was able to play still, not like Von, where it's an ACL tear. But I think he's valuable for sure still.
Well, I think his value is significant on the field, but it's still significant off the field as well. I think you see this with Micah Hyde. I know he's out supposedly out for the season with a neck injury, but
Kind of a question mark.
Rule him completely out. But I think you see with him constantly being on the sidelines, helping the young safeties, Poyer when he was out, like helping Daquan Johnson, DeMar Hamlin, Cam Lewis, like those guys, and then Trey White, his impact of helping, Dane Jackson, Kaiir Elam, Christian Benford, like star players are star players on the field, but the Bills have done a fantastic job of getting star players on and off the field. Like they're both. So he's still gonna have an impact on this team. It just sadly won't be on the field, which is kind of the reason why you signed him. But listen, if these young edges can continue to develop, it's their time now. Like it's now you have an opportunity to be that guy now. You got to like, it's just so much more pressure on all of them. But it's time to see if you can deliver. At Oliver, you're 4 years into your NFL career. Next year is going to be your 5th year option. And after that, you want to get paid. Time to show it. Greg Rousseau, 2nd year.
He's going to get paid.
You see if you want how much improvement you could do. Epinesa, 3rd year. Another year, and then he's a free agent. Like these are guys, that are fighting for an opportunity to eventually play. Maybe not for the Bills, but for other teams for significant money. And so, yeah, I think it's unfortunate that Von's out. I think he's your best, overall lineman on both sides of the ball. But I believe in the next man up mentality for the Bills, and I think they're going to be just fine because of how much depth they have overall on the defensive line.
Yeah, I think that's one thing to take away, especially the way McDermott's operated the team. Leslie Frazier's operated that defense. They have the depth depth pieces. Like even losing a guy like Trey White last year, we had the depth pieces that filled the void. I mean, still played that stellar game in the playoffs against the Chiefs. Like still, like we're a dominant team on defense, even missing that extra piece of dominance, if you will. And I don't think this is going to be any different. You've already seen the flashes of greatness already from Epinesa, Basham. You've seen it from Shaq Lawson, Groot. I mean, it's going to be, I think if anything, it's going to just be more developmental thing for them at this point. And he's he's a sideline coach for the edge rushers, if you will, at this point. He's just
a coach.
Yeah. And one note on that I want to add in too, speaking of people, not play anymore, Marquez Stevenson's gone. Guess what already happened within the day? Matt Barkley's number 5 again. He changed his number from whatever 11 to 5, whatever it was. So
good for him.
There was a little tidbit in there, but
yeah, I don't know. I think it's unfortunate for Von, obviously having a tearing your ACL in late November, having surgery in early December. You got to wonder how long it's going to have him out for next year. But Brandon Beane said they think they could have him back for most of 2023. So it's going to be interesting. We saw Trey now just now getting back into the swings, with only a couple games left in the year. Von, a little bit older, same knee that he had an ACL tear earlier in his career. So, maybe he's just the Wolverine. He's going to be Superman, but, superhuman. But, I mean, we'll see. I think it's a tough loss. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing that the Bills lose on the field is that sense that you have a closer. I mean, you have a guy that in the big moments is going to come through. The guy that has had 2 incredible games in the Super Bowl, a guy that had the big sack on Mahomes on 3rd down to force the punt late in the 4th quarter against that game to allow you to win that game. So you lose that. But it's just going to be interesting now if one of these young guns becomes that finisher, that closer. It's a pretty interesting story, I would say.
It is. No, it could. The story's writing itself for Russo and those guys, and it'd be cool to see them, really just break out and have a fantastic end of the season. Because then when Von comes back, that's even holy cow! What an edge rushing core we're gonna have if they really step up.
Well, yeah, it's not like any of those. I mean, all those guys are signed for next year, so it's not. It's good. They're gonna have to get value reps on the stretch of this year, and then probably in the beginning of next year, with Von probably being out for the beginning of the year. So again, it's an opportunity for those guys to really grow and develop.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But speaking of people coming back, will Deion Dawkins or Kaiir Elam find their spot on the field in the lineup this week? I mean, we already touched on the cornerbacks a little bit, but
I think cornerbacks matchup. I think Kaiir Elam should be healthy at least. Should at least suit up. I think he should be the number 2 corner. I think he is the answer, not just long term. I think he's the answer. Should be the answer now. I think he's put on the best tape out of everyone here in the room that's even currently healthy. I know Benford's out, but even if Benford's healthy, I would say that as well. So, the Bills have some really weird tendencies with this stuff, just trusting veterans. So, I mean, I would assume Xavier Rhodes would actually get the start again, just because I think McDermott and Frazier really trust him. But in my opinion, Elam should be healthy and should be willing to suiting up, because I think the worst thing to do is sit him. Like, I think he should be getting these reps, and I think he should at least be rotating in. Because it runs if he rotates in, he's outplay. He again outplays these guys. Like, I think he just rolled the hot hand. So I think he should be playing. And I think he should at least be cornerback 3. If they're going to continue to ride Rhodes, I think he should at least be cornerback 3 ahead of Dane Jackson, who is kind of just a death boundary corner.
He's just a guy. Yeah, I mean that's the best way to
put it. He's just not gonna really help you, but he won't super hurt you. But he's been hurting you recently.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I think sitting Elam is just harming his development, and it's tough because I get it. You want veteran presence out there, right? You want Trey White, you want Xavier Rhodes, who's done all right so far. He was injured for most of the season, but I don't know. I think you got to give Elam a shot, because when he's played well. I mean, he had a couple games where it was a little tough on him, but after those games, I mean,
the Steelers game with Pickens was a tough game, but
because I mean, Pickens is an outstanding wide receiver, and
Well, he's a
It's
physical specimen, so like I mean,
yeah, he's fast, he's smart. So I mean, that was tough. But most other games he's played, he's been pretty locked down. So I feel like you got to give him a shot. I mean, I would like to see him out there, but like you said, at this point, I feel like veterans are gonna win the day and they're gonna put Rhodes out there. But I don't know.
yeah, if we're trying to make an accurate prediction,
Yeah,
I would say Rhodes, but it's just a little bit
our hopes
unfortunately.
point to Elam. Yeah, but
Yeah,
the
because
mentality.
I think he's proven that he's been the best corner behind. Well, I mean, it's hard to say behind Trey White because Trey White's only played like a game of
Right.
worst of snaps, but
We're going off of Trey White's career.
reputation, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I just think Kyle Lamb should be the guy, but we'll see. We'll talk about Deion Dawkins. It's good to see him practicing again. He did confirm that he had a high ankle sprain, so he was supposedly going to be out what he would like to call 3 hard weeks. But practicing now this week is a very good sign. I
Yeah.
will be interested to see if he goes, just because it's a high ankle sprain. Maybe they're going to play cautious, but the 10 days off plus, technically he's going to be off 2 weeks because he didn't play on Thursday.
Mhm.
I think there's an opportunity for him to go, and especially if Questenberry kind of banged up as well.
Yeah.
I think if you had to pick between which left tackle who's had a bad ankle, you probably would pick Deion Dawkins. So, well, not probably. You should pick Deion Dawkins.
Well,
You know what I mean?
and it's good that it's not a low ankle sprain by where like the joint is, like you're higher up, which is good. So you can really tape that up and turn it into a brick, like if you
Well, the
really
high
have
ankle
to.
sprains. I think the high ankle sprain is worse than a low ankle sprain.
Is it actually?
Like a high ankle
Just
sprain,
shows you.
usually if you, I think
Mac
a high
Jones
ankle
had a high
sprain,
ankle sprain, did he not?
you're supposed to be out like 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes even 6 weeks.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's
I don't know.
it's difficult. It's difficult, but if he's able, I think it's a great sign that he's able to practice right now.
Yeah. Well,
At least get
because
some
you
practice
saw the
time.
hole he left in the O line last week I mean, Questenberry was hurt, like we said, his ankle, but still, it was just they were blowing right through the line, and Allen was
Uche was
rolling.
having a big game. Yeah, Uche was having a big game against him.
Yeah,
So
so it would be nice to have the Snowman or the Iceman, we should say at this point, because he's a solid block of ice on that line, playing because he holds off those guys, so Allen has more time, and that's what he needs. I mean, he was rolling out to the right, to get away from it, which was all right, but that strip sack was all that was on Questenberry, so that'd be nice to avoid something like that.
I don't think he even laid a
Didn't
finger on
touch
the
him.
guy. So
No, he blew right past him. There was no stopping him. It was like me being an O lineman out there, like no shot. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It, like you said, though, it is very promising that he is touching the practice field and actually out there participating. So I think that one
but again, the Bills play conservative injuries, except if your name is Josh Allen. So
right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play this week, but if he continues to practice throughout the entire week and maybe get a full practice in, I would think he plays. I mean, Mitch Morris seemed to have like maybe a low ankle sprain, so maybe that's why he played after a week. So we'll see. I think it's an interesting thing to monitor. Who's going to block for the blind side of your $250 million franchise quarterback.
Yeah, your guy. I mean, you're just trusting people with him at that point. But I think honestly, it's the Bills play it conservative, like you said. I mean, that's the best way to put it. But honestly, with a guy like Deion being such an X factor, like your big guy on the O line, I feel like you want to save him. You know what I mean? For the bigger games, like we're playing the Jets. I get it; they beat us earlier in the season, but also our defense wasn't fully there, like you stated earlier. And now our defense is pretty solid playing there now. So I don't know. I feel like conservative kind of makes sense in this scenario a little bit, especially with Von Miller. I'm glad that Bean put him on IR right away because he was wanting to play the Jets in the Jets game. So, I mean, I appreciate the conservativeness, but I feel like with Deion, I think we might have to be a little more conservative just to save him for the postseason, because we don't want Questenberry blocking against the Chiefs in a divisional round. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not what we want going on. So, because he'll just be eaten up. But
no, absolutely. Yeah. So then you used the word X factor, so we'll go into X factors of the game. For me, I think the two biggest X factors are Trey White and Jordan Poyer. I think just because the Bills had a very hard time with Garrett Wilson, and Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson did not have a very good connection. So it was actually like the only game the entire year where those two like really were in sync with each other. And Mike White, the last two games, has really targeted Garrett Wilson like a true number one wide receiver. So, I mean, he's Mike White's number one option. You got to be able to try and limit his abilities and take him away, and boom, you have your number one corner in Trey White. Hopefully, he's all 10 days off now. Hopefully, he can play a full game, kind of shadow Garrett Wilson, take it away. And then you have Jordan Poyer kind of in the back end.
Right.
Mike White, I think it's going to be a little bit more of gunslinger is not the right word because Zach Wilson is a gunslinger. He puts the ball in harm's way a lot. But Mike White, I think will be a guy that if he sees separation downfield, will let it loose. Zach Wilson seemed to not be seeing the field very well. So I think Mike White sees the field better than Zach Wilson. So I think there might be more opportunities for the Jets to throw it downfield. But when you have your center fielder back there, I think that's going to be crucial. So those two guys I think are going to be incredibly crucial to the Bills having success on defense versus this Jets offense.
Yeah, I mean, you took I was going to just say Trey White, but yeah, Jordan Poyer, I'll jump on the bandwagon with you on that one. I mean, you're absolutely right. Garrett Wilson is going to play in Mike White. I'm getting the quarterback. They switched so much, man. Like even last year we played Mike White in the same type of scenario, whereas Wilson was benched for him. But no, there's no question to me that they're going to go crazy. And Mike White, like you said, he's going to take those shots downfield if Wilson has separation. There's no question about it. And having Trey White out there, hopefully for a full game, like you said, is going to be major because we had Elam and Benford out there, and wasn't Dane Jackson? Was he injured still? He was not playing.
No, he was getting cooked.
Yeah, he was just. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was getting absolutely cooked. And I remember, you're right because I was at work watching that game. I remember I was getting so mad. I'm like, they couldn't stop him, but I think now with your all-pro corner out there, I think it's going to be very different, and all-pro safety, all-pro Poe. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this changes. Because honestly, the offense is going to cook. Our running game has stepped up in the past couple of weeks. I don't think that's an issue. I think.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
I mean, James Cook though, development since the last.
I wouldn't say if your previous statement of the offense is going to get cooked. I think the Jets have one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. And talking leaning into keys to success, I would say, getting the ground game going again and getting your good line of scrimmage push, because we saw what James Cook could do, we saw what Devin Singletary could do, and we saw how protected this offense can be with a solid running game. The key to success also is going to be obviously when I talk defensively about the X factors, but also get Dawson Knox involved. That the Jets have two very good corners in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Diggs, again, is still going to get his, but I don't know if you could fully trust Davis. But if McKenzie could step up too, McKenzie and Knox, those guys can step up and they can get a consistent ground game, and Josh Allen can take care of the football. I think the Bills are in a great position to, I wouldn't say, have an elite offensive day, but get in the mid-20s. Which is, I think, going to be enough to win that their defense plays like the way it should against this Jets offense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. And that's one thing. Dawson Knox is severely underutilized this season. It's kind of remarkable to me. He should be your third option most times. You're paying him all that money, and he's proven he's a receiving tight end and pretty solid. First season, he was Dawson drops. Okay, I'll give that. I'll give everyone that. The Dawson Knox haters out there. But last season, he's literally picking out in that Patriots playoff game, picked out a ball that was being thrown away out of the sky. So, I mean, the guy has really stepped up and done what he needed to do. And I think Ken Dorsey needs to utilize him, run a tight end attack, run something. Even Tommy Sweeney, and you've got whatchamacallit? Who's the third string? Quentin Morris?
But he was out last time.
He's out, right?
But I think he'll be back. Reggie Gilliam might not play, so that could be a significant loss for the running game.
Yeah,
he has a little bit of a banged up ankle, so that could be a significant loss.
Yeah, the most elusive fullback in the NFL, Reggie Gilliam. So, but I think, like you said, the biggest key to success is Dawson Knox. There's no question about it, and it has to be your third option, because you're right. I mean, Diggs is going to be lined up on Sauce, probably, most likely. That's what's going to happen. Davis has a certain candy that rubbed all over his hands. I think it's a Butterfinger or something. He keeps dropping passes that are right to him, and I love Gabe Davis, right? Like I really do. I think he's great, but he has these fantastic games, 4 touchdowns, right, in a playoff game, and then 98-yard touchdowns. But those are like 5 games apart. Like he plateaus and goes like this. Like he's not consistent. And I think that's the biggest thing with him is just consistency. But Knox has been consistent when you use him. Caught the game-winning touchdown in KC, right? Every time you've thrown to him, minus the one screen pass they tossed to him last week, he bobbled and dropped. Like, he's been consistent. He's your biggest guy you got to go to, and I think he's gonna be a big key to success here on this fine Sunday at 1 p.m. in Highmark Stadium.
Yeah, for sure. And then so looking at the MVPs, I think offensively, I've stayed away from being incredibly generic. I think throughout the most of the predictions, but this one I won't. This week I won't. Josh Allen will be the MVP of the game because I think a lot of pressure is going to be on Josh Allen to perform.
Mm-hmm.
What happened last game, the team that injured him. And this is kind of the game before. Obviously, it was before the Vikings game, but this was the game where, like, I think he lost the lead in the MVP race. And I know he probably has a sour taste in his mouth from last performance against the Jets. So I think he's going to have a big game. I think he's going to make really smart, sound decisions early, and I don't think he's going to be afraid to attack down the field once it's opened him. So I think he'll get 275 yards and probably 300 total yards and 3 touchdowns.
I like the sound of that,
and a goose egg in the turnover column.
I like that even more now. I like it even more. I wanna agree with you on that, but I'm gonna take it a different direction so we're not the both generic. You know what I mean? I don't want to be on the same page with everything. I think Diggs is gonna have a day. I mean, that's kind of generic in itself though, because he's him. He's Stephon Diggs. So I think he's gonna want that revenge, like you said, like from that first game. He's got a sour taste in his mouth. And I think he's going to just light up Sauce Gardner. There's no question about it. He's going to be a big difference maker. It's going to be him and Knox. Davis might get some stuff. McKenzie, honestly, has had a pretty good couple of weeks, but I think it's going to be Diggs being the number one guy. Third overall in the league for passing yards. I think we're going to move up to second in this game. So I don't know the margin. It could be 5 yards. It could be 40. I think either way.
No, he's pretty far behind.
Is he? Who's ahead of him? Jefferson?
He's a distance third. Because it's Hill, Jefferson, or top
forgot
two.
About Tyreek. Yeah.
I think he might even be. I don't know if he's 3 or 4. I know he's second in catches.
Mm-hmm.
No, he is 3 because I thought Adams would have passed him last week. No, Adams 4. No, yeah, he's 75 yards off of Jefferson, but
Jefferson will put up more yards when he plays.
He's a while off of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is way ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, so I'll redact that he takes second place in the.
No, he can still take second.
You think?
Well, I mean, he has a 75-yard difference between him and Jefferson. So if he has a really big game and Jefferson kind of just has like a 40-yard game and like he has a 120, I guess, sure.
Yeah.
There's no way he could be 1, but.
No. Yeah, I you know what? I'll stick with it then. I think he'll overtake Jefferson. I think he's gonna have a fantastic game. Diggs is my offensive MVP. Now, pivoting to the defense, who's your pick on that?
My pick is another man that was injured by the New York Jets, Groot.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big week for Groot. The tackles there's just a complete circus carousel for offensive tackles for the Jets.
Yeah,
they've lost really their ground game with Breece Hall being injured, Verrett Tucker being out, and James Robinson, that trade really not working out for them. So they've lost their ground game a little bit. So I think they're going to be a little bit more one-dimensional, and I think he's going to try do his dirty work and put some pressure on Mike White and get himself a nice little sack.
I like that. I really do. I think Ed Oliver is going to put that cowboy hat on and go to town this week. I think he's going to go crazy. I think he's got hunger. He's got the thirst. He wants to, he wants to end Mike White like they did last year at this time. I remember watching that game. Mike White had recently said, I should have been the first overall pick in my NFL draft class. No way. But I think Ed Oliver's hungry for blood, and he's gonna go after him for Von Miller. It's the whole defense is playing for Von this week, and I think it's gonna go crazy. He's gonna ride that cowboy. So, or not. He's gonna ride the horse, not the cowboy. So I'm going with Ed Oliver down pat. What do you think? At the end of the day, when the dust clears, the Cowboys have ridden off. What do you think the score is going to be of this game?
Buffalo 24, New York Jets 20. I think
Mm.
the Jets are going to cover the spread because I think it's going to be like divisional games are always tight, especially when the underdog, in this case the Jets, have a very evidently defense.
Right.
So 24-20.
I'm taking Highmark Stadium into massive advantage here. The last game, what was the last game? We put up over 30 points pretty much every time we play at home, right? This season at least.
Last time they played, they put up. I want to say they put up. Yeah, they put up 30.
Yeah,
right?
30.
Yeah.
It was the loss to the Vikings. But
I thought they put up 27. I forgot they could the game tying field goal should be to force overtime.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the Bills are going to go 35-24. I think again, like you said,
high scoring. I don't.
I think the Bills are going to go out and do it, man. I really do. I think the last home game I had a super high prediction for was the Titans game. I said 45-7, and that score ended up being 41-7. I was close, 2 safeties, and I would have been on it right away, but unfortunately to no avail. But I'm feeling 35-24. I'm feeling a big high scoring game out of the Bills, and Josh Allen's arm is hopefully healed and feeling better too after this nice break they've had.
10 days,
so. Yeah. 10 days. So I'm thinking we're going to have a big high scoring blowout here. Not blowout, but a big high scoring game. So that is going to do it for our Bills Jets preview, if you will. And but before we move into our picks from last week and picking more games for this week, I want to bring up the Sports Bring People Together podcast. Listen for entrepreneurial conversations with those in sports, and who knows where the chats will take you, but sports got us all here together in the first place. Find the show wherever you listen to podcasts or simply visit sportseplus.com. And now we are going to roll into our picks from last week. We're going to start out on a little recap here. Dom, you went 10-4-1.
We all went 10-4-1.
Went 10-4-1, and Mike went 10-4-1. Yes. We all went 10-4-1
What a week.
So, yeah.
So
interesting week.
Now we have two ties to our names now. But yeah. I'm 125-68. You're 122-71. Mike in the basement by 15 games is 107-86. So, nothing changed, to be honest. Not to be honest, it's just factual. Nothing at all changed other than, I guess it's interesting to get a tie. I mean, it's kind of a little bit unfortunate because I think all 3 of us picked the Giants, and the Giants should have won that game. But welcome to the National Football League picking experience.
Yeah, unexpected Sunday, man. Yeah, unexpected. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because you're right.
March Madness.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know, anything can happen. Like that's the best way to put it. But let's now shift gears here a little bit to our picks for this week's upcoming slate this Sunday and Monday. Do we have a prime time on Monday in this slate, or are they all Sunday games?
I think they're all Sunday games.
All Sunday games for you this week. So we're gonna pick the Eagles Giants, the Browns Bengals, Vikings at Lions, Dolphins Chargers, and Jags Titans games. Let's start it right at the top. The Eagles are 7-point favorites, and they're playing in New Jersey or New York. Sorry, we're gonna be correct here. as per team names, we're gonna go by. So the Eagles are 7-point favorites. It's not a surprise. They're the juggernaut of the NFC. I want to pick the Giants. I really do. I'm a big Dable guy. I'm a big respect the process guy, and he's done a great job in New York already, year 1. I mean, would you have expected them to even be in playoff contention? Not me. I mean,
no, with that roster, no.
With
that quarterback too, no.
No, Saquon Barkley is the only decent part of that offense, and somehow they're still cooking. So I don't know. I'm not picking them this week though. I'm picking the Eagles. To me, there's no other pick. I want to pick the Giants. I really do, but I'm leaving that behind the door at this point. I'm just not even going to think about it. So I'm picking the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, those guys, they're all cooking. Like they really are. That's a well-oiled machine they've got over in Philly. When Hurts can't throw, he's going to run. Like it's a dual threat, extremely dual threat. And you got Sanders on the team too. So it's crazy. The offense they've got, their line strong, everything. So I'm going with the Eagles.
Yeah, I think this is just pretty much a route, I think, for the Eagles. They have a very optimistic defense. CJ Gardner leads the league in interceptions, or he's up there. Darius Slay, James Bradbury, the ex-Giant, maybe in the revenge game. They have a very solid defensive line up there too against a pretty poor Giants offensive line. And while Daniel Jones, hasn't turned the ball over as much this year, in years past he's been a turnover machine. So I expect a past Daniel Jones performance where he turns the ball over 3 or 4 times. The Giants probably won't do much offensively, and I think the Giants have a solid defense, but they like to blitz a lot, with man coverage, and I don't think they have anyone one-on-one that could stop A.J. Brown, especially the way he's playing recently.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts is playing at a high level, and that ground game will just physically, I think, be able to wear down the Giants. So I think the Eagles win by 2 scores. So,
all right, two picks on the Eagles so far.
2 picks on the Eagles. So then the next game we got Browns Bengals.
Yes.
The rematch from the Monday Night Football game that was playing while we were at the Detroit Sabres game.
Yes.
The Sabres scored 8 goals, and that was as many points as the Browns and Bengals, I believe, scored in the first half, or mostly the first half.
Yeah, like before the last 2 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, that was funny. The Bengals are playing at a high level. They're really getting, big win against the Chiefs, big win against the Titans. They're not the number 1 team in the AFC North right now, but that's just because of tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And with the Browns, it's tough, but I'm going to pick them. I think the Browns pull the upset here. I don't love the fact that the Browns offense led by Deshaun Watson played so bad against the Texans. I think that's an incredibly big red flag. But I expect some bounce back. The Browns have always been a very physical team with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And that always kind of bangs up the Bengals a little bit. They always, impose their will on them. When Joe Burrow, I believe, is 0-4 against the Browns all time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what the Browns have that, what they give to Joe Burrow to, slip in his water or something to make him not the quarterback he normally is. But he did say that what makes them different is that they have Myles Garrett. So I think Myles Garrett will be the game record that it's always been. The Browns are able to move the ball on the ground, and hopefully Deshaun does something this week to make my pick correct.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I was in the same mindset of Deshaun shaking off the rust last week. He had to go get another massage.
Emotional game. I mean, like I hate hyping up Deshaun Watson. I'm like cringing saying it. But emotional game, first game in 700 days at your ex stadium. The ex team.
Tough for anybody. That would be tough. I mean, whether or not
I guess, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel so scuzzy talking about this, but
I do too. And it's even scuzzier that both of us are picking him to win this game at this point. I don't know. I think he's going to bounce back. I really do. I think, like I said, it's just kind of shaking the rust off last week. I think he's going to be connecting. Like you said, the ground game, fantastic. Chubb, Hunt. That's arguably one of the best tandems in the NFL on the ground. You've got the physical Kareem Hunt bust through the line, and Chubb is just fantastic in all areas. And it's just, I think Myles Garrett's going to be a difference maker. Like you said, he's going to go attack Burrow. But then again, Burrow got sacked 9 times in a playoff game last year, and the Bengals still won. So I think it's anyone's game, but I think Hungry Dog runs faster. The Bengals have been riding high, right? I think the Browns are coming. Deshaun honestly wants to prove that he's still a top quarterback in the NFL. And I think that's going to, spark a little heat under them and have them win this game. So that's 2 agreements with us so far, 1 underdog and 1 favorite. So the next game, the Vikings at the Lions. Oh, the Vikings, you would think are favored in this one with how they've been playing, especially, beating the Bills, and the Bills beat the Lions and whatnot. But no, the Lions are favored by 2 points. That is not what I was expecting to see. I'm going to be 100% honest with you.
It's a weird line with the Vikings being 10-2 when the Lions being 5-7. So
yeah. I don't know. I want to take the underdog. Like, not really. For me, the underdog's the Lions. I'm going to be 100% honest with you, quote unquote, in my mind. I want to take them. I really do, because they are 2-point favorites against the Vikings, and the Vikings beat us. I would like to see them lose, right? But I don't think Dan Campbell and the Lions are going to be able to pull this one off. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I think I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins here in the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're going to try and defend their spot as an NFC contender, and I think that's against a struggling Lions team that's 2-10, 2-11 or something along those lines.
The Lions?
Yeah.
Lions are like 5-7.
Oh, 5-7. Sorry, I'm
5-8.
thinking about the Texans. I apologize.
Yeah, the Lions have played pretty well recently.
Yes, I'm going to stick with the
They're
Vikings.
5-7. They're 5-7.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to go with the Vikings.
I'm going to go with the Vikings in an absolute shootout because I don't think the Lions are going to be able to stop Justin Jefferson. I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to stop Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think both Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins both throw for 300 yards. I mean, you saw Mike White throw for 350 against the Vikings last week. We all know what the woes the Lions have had defensively the entire season. And last time these two teams played each other, it went down to the wire. It was a very competitive game, so I think it's going to be a close field goal kind of game. But the Vikings are just overall the better team, so I would say that ends up being the difference at the end of the day. I think they have a couple more playmakers on the defensive side of the ball currently than the Lions, and that they're going to get just one more stop than the Lions to outlast them here.
I agree with you, buddy.
All right.
That's three agreements so far.
We'll see if we go. We'll see if we go 4-4 here. 4-4 here. The Dolphins at Chargers, the flex Sunday night game.
Yeah, because they don't want the Broncos on primetime anymore.
Dolphins are 3.5 point road favorites. Give me the Dolphins, man. I think this is going to be an absolute teeth kicking in. I know I said that last week, but the Niners did a good job pressuring Tua. Tua was really bad because I think I thought they had some, abilities to make some plays, and Tua was just off. Mm-hmm. I think Tua bounces back. Big game for Tua, especially with Herbert. Them being in the same draft, them being drafted should Herbert have been drafted over Tua? Was Tua the right pick? I think he wants to make a statement. And at the end of the day, the Dolphins are way more talented than the Chargers. They're a better coach than the Chargers. While I do think the Chargers do have a better quarterback than the Dolphins, that quarterback has a bad offensive line, a bad running game, and wide receivers that cannot separate against man coverage. And the Dolphins play a lot of man coverage, and they like to blitz, put pressure on the quarterback. So give me the Dolphins by double digits over the Chargers.
Yeah, my decision here, both quarterbacks, same draft, like you said, both very talented quarterbacks. There's no question about that. As much as I called him to turn the ball over, there's no question. After this season, he's proven himself that he can be a quarterback in the NFL, right? That's without question. Even with two massive concussions or like a second impact that would have floored anybody, he's back and still playing very well. Last week was a fluke week, okay? Allen has fluke weeks. You got to give other people fluke weeks. No bias, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coaching is the biggest difference for me here. And like you said,
yeah, it's a blowout. It's the biggest mismatch in the field.
Yes, because Brandon Staley is incompetent, it seems. Like Sean Payton's going to come coach that team next year. That's how desperate they are for a good coach. I think the Dolphins win. I hate to say it because they're our rival in the AFC East. I really do. I would love to see him lose another game. I really would. But I think I love Herbert too. I really do. But Brandon Staley's going to throw. He's throwing the game. Someone in Vegas that phone lights up every game. They're like, go for it on fourth down on your own 30-yard line. Like that's the decision.
He doesn't do that anymore. He doesn't do that anymore. He's chicken. They bullied him. He's bullied into not believing in analytics and all that stuff anymore. At the end of the day, they should just hire Brian Daboll when they had the chance, but they didn't, and they're reaping the benefits from that. Not reaping the benefits, reaping the repercussions of that horrific decision.
Just imagine Daboll with Herbert, though. Like that would have been crazy, absolutely crazy. But yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins. Dolphins by 2 scores. I'm right there with you on that one. There's no question. And that's solely because Mike McDaniel. 4-4. Mike McDaniels is better than Brandon Staley, no question. So Dolphins. And that brings us to the finale, the grand finale. The Jaguars at the Titans. The Titans are 4-point favorites. Give me the Titans. I'm going with the favorite on this one. I love Doug Peterson, right? He went for it on. He went for 2, 1 against the Ravens. What a game that was. What a coaching performance. That's what Doug Peterson did in Philly. That was really cool to see that he's still like that guy. He's turned that team around from what it was last year. I mean, why am I blanking on Urban Meyer? I don't know why I don't know why I was blanking on that, but from what they're doing now, like Trevor Lawrence actually looks somewhat decent, but still to me, the king, Derrick Henry, that running back, and they got humiliated last week by the Eagles. I think Vrabel bounces back, and this is another, like, Vrabel's a great coach, and he rallies those guys around him, and they're rallying for a win this week. So I'm going with the Titans.
Yeah, I think the Titans are the pick here because the Jags are a talented team and they have the highest of highs, but they just have some head scratching lows. I mean, losing to the Broncos. You look at the last 2 weeks of them. They get a fantastic win against the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, go for that 2-point conversion, come back, win that game. Next week they trail to Detroit, not necessarily an elite team, and they just get thrashed the whole game. They were never in the game. And so, I mean, you just can't trust them at this point. And what you can't trust is that the Tennessee Titans are a good team that cannot beat elite teams, but will stomp mediocre to average teams. And that's currently what the Jags are. The Jags are completely just a mediocre team. And the Titans, the last 2 weeks, went up against 2 elite teams. They lost a close one to the Bengals, and they got thrashed by the Eagles. I think they showed who they are. I mean, they have a very good program. They're gonna still win that division. Kind of interesting that they fired their GM midweek, mid-season, but give me the Titans and just being consistent. Give me the consistency of the Titans over the inconsistency of the Jags.
Is that a clean sweep from you and I here? We
5-5,
ran the
baby.
table.
Hey, come on, we got to be 5-0 now.
Yeah, we have to be. I mean,
or next week we have to make sure that we pick one game that we disagree on.
Right. Yeah. We might do that. I mean,
this is why we need Mike. You know, we need the third party to potentially not have 2 people pick the same result.
Yeah. Throw a little wrench in the mix.
And I don't even think about 6 for 6 because we picked the Bills to win. So
yeah. I mean, imagine. I mean, like I say every week, there's no other sports podcast out there that has as good of a record as we do. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Most of them you see hit around 500. So this is good stuff. Good stuff for the listeners out there if you're looking for anything. So, but without further ado, that's going to cap it off for this episode of the Buffalo New Podcast's Betting on the Bills. I'm Joe Kelly, and I was joined by Dom Loss. And Dom, most importantly, before we end this episode, how do you always end these?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.